Good morning, gardening friends. It's Vicki. I'm over at my terrace garden, and I had to come over here this morning to meet with the architect and the builders and the foundation guys. Apparently there's a problem that they've run into, of course. I'll explain more of that later in the video, but I thought since I was over here I would just get some updates in here. The hardy hibiscus is starting to look very big and luscious, and my purple prince is growing in nicely. If you notice, there's two different kinds here. So I had bought these first. I don't remember what the variety name said, but it didn't say purple prince on it. There's multiple different varieties of this common name. It has other common names. I forget the name of it, scientific name. I'll try to put it on the screen. But anyway, this is the kind that I had last year. It was less like purpley than this. I'm not saying I hate this, but I like this better. So when I found these, I went ahead and grabbed those. And I thought it'll also be a nice contrast because this foliage color is pretty close to this one when they leaf out. But this one is more dramatically purple. And although that's kind of off-putting to me, it's going to be more hidden under this, and it's also going to have more contrast between this and then this one. So I think it's going to turn out really nice. So I think that was a good step. Right back there, I only have one small little piece of the oregano that I transplanted. Seems to be growing and not very quickly at all. So I'm probably going to take about half of this clump right here and transplant it into that back corner, and then take the other half and do the same thing on the other end, just so that I can get more of the oregano back in the corner the way that I wanted it. Peonies are looking just beautiful this morning. All of them pretty much opening up in full bloom almost. And I'm really loving this color. So at my other house, we seem to have white peonies and possibly red, but I'm also wondering if maybe they're going to be this color when they open. I would love it if they were this color, because I'm planning to take a chunk off of each of the peony at the other house, like just dig up part of the clump and bring them over here so I have some more peonies. I mean, I'm also buying plants and putting them at the other house too. So I'm giving and I'm taking, let's put it that way. I cut down a bunch of my iris stalks that were looking all dead and stuff. I got up in there and did a little bit of weeding out, but I mean, not everything. I'm starting to cut back like the dead tulip foliage, and I'm seeing some coneflowers coming up. These big fluffy things, there's a couple more that are kind of hidden back there behind that salvia. These are the verbascum, also known as mullein. They get the tall yellow stalks. Do you see them right there in front of my iris? So there's some there. There's this big one in the front. I don't know, there's like 2 or 3 more that are kind of hidden back in there with the other, behind the iris and behind that salvia and stuff. So those should start sending up stalks here pretty soon. They're really pretty tall yellow spikes. I love them. Over here, this kind of tall one is going to be a yellow coneflower that I really loved in the past. So now it's getting taller than it was in the past 2 years. I'll see how I like it this year. Now that it's getting taller, it's kind of hitting maturity, you know, and I think I liked it when it was smaller, but that's all right. We'll see how it turns out. This Walker's Low Catmint is looking really good. Again, I bought that on clearance last fall, and so this is really just, I considered it its first season really. Well, my Russian sage is starting to fill in and stuff, looking good. I don't know if you can see those 2 kind of tall plants behind it. That is I think it's called Echinops. It's like a blue spiky flower. Just real quick, I have the same situation over here with the purple prince. These I planted a little bit differently. So I've got the bright purple here, and then I've got the new ones that I just planted kind of mixed in there. I don't know why this one looks like 2. Did I buy? Well, that's weird. I must have had an extra one or something. I thought I put 3 on each side, but that looks like 2 separate ones. And then here's 2 separate ones. So that's going to be 4 total. That is really weird. I don't remember doing that. So I wonder if I just planted it down deep enough and it was 2 stalks or something. I don't know. I might be able to move one of those, but I probably won't get around to it, to be honest with you. My other hardy hibiscus on this side, this one gets pink blooms, like a light pink, whereas the one that's down there has more of like a deep cranberry red. Something I wanted to show you. Oh, we got our first bloom. Remember I planted those. These, I've already forgotten what they're called. Anemone, I think? Yeah. These are anemone from corms that I planted, and I planted them kind of all over throughout this middle terrace. So we're going to have a ton of these flowers next spring, but I wasn't sure if we were going to get any blooms this spring, but we did get one, which gives me hope that we'll get more. So let me come over here. And they are the wine red, which is what I was really hoping they were going to be. I was afraid they were going to be more of a red. They actually are coming off more red on camera, but in person, this looks like a wine red color. So it's got that blue undertone, and that's exactly what I was hoping for. Give you a little update on my my lamb's ear border. Starting to fill in pretty nicely, and eventually it will block out grass from growing that I've been dealing with here every year, so that will be good. But as you can see, the lamb's ear just kind of runs along, and I have it going all the way across, so eventually it will fill in this whole ledge. So look from the top down. I want to show you these little yellow flowers. I love these so much. King Edward yarrow, I want to say. But aren't they so cute? I love them. I'm probably going to keep adding more of those like every year because they're so adorable, popping up in through the cactus and stuff. And then also the other day I was looking at Lowe's online when I was at work, and there was, I don't know, I was looking at other stuff for the house, but then I thought, well, what about these blocks right here? And I think they were only like $1.97 or something per block. So I might look into seeing how much would it cost just to have this complete whole front ledge redone. And maybe I can even get the builders to do that and just add it to the cost of our renovation here, so that I don't have to deal with trying to cover up my cracking wall every year and stuff like that. So that would be good. These white peonies up here looking really beautiful. The pink Sarah Bernhardts are also pretty much coming fully out. And this, I think it's hollyhock, getting buds on it, so it should start blooming soon. This right here, you guys remember me telling you about wild 4 o'clocks? I've brought it up multiple times. This is what they look like. They don't look like the regular 4 o'clocks. And I tried letting these grow in my yard for a season about 2 years ago, but I just decided that they don't look pretty enough. Their structure is just too weedy looking, and I definitely prefer, you know, the more common 4 o'clocks that we all grow and know. I prefer those over this type. So pulling those out. I know I covered this in my last video, but it was the mortgage company. Let me show you. They put this notice on the door They've done it multiple other times though. Like they keep putting a notice on the door. You can see where we've ripped it off in the past. And it says, we found this property to be vacant and or abandoned. This information will be reported to the mortgage holder. So anyway, we've called this number on here and told them this is not abandoned. Nobody answers the line. It's like a recording. Told them, hey, this is not an abandoned property. Stop putting this sign on our door. And finally, after being transferred many times, because nobody at the mortgage company knew what I was talking about or knew who was in charge of this, I'm like, look, somebody changed my locks. Somebody has whacked down a bunch of my plants. They mowed my lawn. I'm not paying extra for any of that. In fact, you guys owe me money for doing this. And I filed a complaint with them. So that's pretty much where we're at with that. I thought I saw some rosebuds I was going to show you. They also, I believe, cut this back. I'd have to look at my previous videos to see how far I cut it down to. I mean, these bushes are looking really untended anyway, because they basically are, but pretty good. How are you doing? Yes, we sure do. Okay, pause to talk to my neighbor anyway. So yeah, my rose bushes are basically, we are just trying to survive until we can transplant them to the backyard in the fall. So that's my goal for this year. I don't expect much from them, but you know, if I can just keep them alive, I'll be happy with that. And then once they're in the backyard, I'll start really trying to work on like fertilizing and pruning them correctly, and you know, figuring out what the heck I'm doing with roses, because that's not a plant that I have a lot of experience with yet. These iris need to get cut back. See, they are starting to die out. That's the only downside I would say with iris. They have beautiful flowers, but they only last for about a week or two. And then they die back. And they don't look very pretty when they die. Gardeners have a thing about, does it die pretty or die ugly? And if it dies ugly, you really got to cut it back. So that is the thing about iris. But they leave us with this fantastic blue-green structure of their leaves, which I think are a beautiful backdrop, filler. You know, they're just a great plant to add that extra dimension, because I really love that blue-green color. And so it does that for me. Even when they're not in bloom, you still get that pretty foliage. Like, I love that blue-green juniper that's back there. That should eventually be as tall or a little bit taller than the shed here, and just kind of fill out that back corner. And again, our roses will be moving here. We do have some pretty blooms hiding in there. This is a Zephyrin Druin. So, briefly, if I can explain it the way they explained it to me. So you see this orange line? This was supposed to be where the back wall ended. But because of some sort of structural issue they've run into with the basement, which I could never explain to you in a million years, but it has something to do with that old foundation. It was just built on bricks, and in order to prop that up, make it secure and everything, they're now going to have to push out the back wall to probably right about here, about 3 or 4, maybe an extra 5 feet. So that means I'm losing backyard space because they're going to have to push out that back wall. But he said we'll gain like living room, kitchen space, will get bigger. But, you know, I wasn't really caring about that. I cared about my backyard being bigger, so that kind of sucks. But there's just no way around it. The way they explained it to me, it just has to be adjusted because of what they're running into down there. And then another thing they weren't counting on is underneath the deck that they pulled out is a concrete pad. And so that's going to be an added expense to remove all that. And then they don't know what that is down there. I'm not going to climb down in there and show you, but do you see what looks like a tunnel or a hole running down there? We got to figure out, you know, like, what is that? A cistern, an old septic tank, a well? We really don't know. So he's like, we're running into some things that might add more expenses to this project. And we're probably going to have to cut back on other things, like, you know, maybe the wood floors won't be as nice, or we'll have to go with carpet or something. I don't know. But adjustments are going to have to be made. So that's basically where we're at. Okay. Well, I guess that's the update for today. I hope you all are having a lovely spring. It's very overcast. Well, it was overcast. It actually just kind of cleared up, but it was sprinkling just a few minutes ago. So it was nice and cool. We don't have any rain on the forecast, though, for several days yet. Like actual rain. We got a sprinkle. See, if you look off that way, it's still looking kind of gray in the sky. But once we move over this way, it's all clear blue. So yeah, no significant rain in the forecast for days to come. I looked on the online the other day to see how much rain we've gotten since the beginning of the year, and it's like just over an inch. So when I told you guys before that it rained a torrential downpour, it did. It was just all at once, and then it stopped, and we haven't had anything else really. So the garden is still hurting for water, which is unfortunate. I think our next rain is, what's today? Friday? I think it's like 4 or 5 days away. They're saying we might get rain. So I'm really hoping the weather pattern shifts and we get some sort of wet pattern, because we really, really need it. We're starting to go on water restrictions in this area. So like, even if my water was working, I'm not really supposed to be using it for watering the garden and stuff like that, because that's how bad it is. All right, but I'm just rambling on. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.